EAGLES, Eagles.
On to the divisional round we go, everybody. The Philadelphia Eagles win the game today, 22-10. And we're 1-0 in the playoffs this year. Welcome in, everybody, to the JAKIB postgame show. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's Dan Sileo on the screen, covering his face up with a towel. I am not sure why. We'll find out in just a second. We'll talk to John McMullen a little bit later on in the show. I said on the pregame show, everybody, a win is a win. Go and get a win. They were able to do that today, but boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Big Sills, I'm coming to you. Towel head over there, whatever you're doing. What are you putting the towel over your face for, Big Sills?
Because of that quarterback, he sucks. I mean, that was a horrible performance by him and that offense. I mean, if it wasn't for that defense, Jordan Love and the bodies that were lost by Green Bay, that was arguably the worst performance of the year. I mean, the defense was sensational. Nolan Smith, how about him, man? Playing Hassan Reddick in this ball game. Yeah. Good for him, man. 2 sacks in the ball game. Yeah. They did a really nice job. You know, I thought, like we said, too, both of us said it, Xander, that they were going to get worn out towards the end of the ball game. That's kind of what happened. And that was a defensive football game. And without a doubt, it was a defensive game. And I'll say this, too. I think A.J. Brown is real. John has been saying all week that A.J. Brown is hurt. There was very little explosion out of him. I thought that was really a factor in the football game because he was a non-factor in that football game. And you could tell when he's a non-factor, that offense they just fumble around. I mean,
even further than that, Sills, they didn't even look his way. I mean, they didn't even attempt. I said it on the halftime show. So you have a quarterback coming in, though, 3 weeks, no game, hasn't played. Talking about rust. And by the way, for everybody who says rust is not a factor, I just listened to Tom Brady, the winningest quarterback of all time, the greatest player to ever grace the NFL, tell me, oh, rust is 100% a factor for a quarterback in this situation. So missed me with that. He clearly had some rust today. I don't know, Big Sills. That was not a very promising performance from the quarterback. How do you have a guy miss 3 weeks and then come back and you have one of the best receivers in the NFL and you don't give him one chance, one slant, one throw? If he's not hurt, then I think that's a worse scenario than if he is hurt and he was used as a decoy today.
I didn't know what the offense was doing. It was, I mean, how about we do this? How in the world were the Packers in that game for 3.5 quarters? How were they in that game? That game was I agree with Tom Brady and what Tom said. I thought that game was 75-0. Then I looked up, it's only 10-0.
Yeah, right.
And Green Bay ran out of bodies, man.
Let's recap a little bit of the game here.
That's not a Super Bowl. By the way, that's not a Super Bowl team.
I 100% agree. Now, people will point to, in 2017, Sills, we had a really shoddy divisional game that year. We won 15-10, and everybody loves to use that. Oh, we did it. We weren't very good in the divisional, so maybe we can get better. Sure, maybe we can get better. But as it stands today, if you think that team that just beat the Packers is going to go to the Super Bowl and get past teams, I think even like the Bucs or the Lions, forget about it. That team has a lot of work, a lot of things to clean up, Sills, before you talk about that.
How about this, man? If you think the Green Bay Packers suck and they stink, you fucking suck too in that game. I mean, for
the Packers
for a team that had all that ability in that ball game, for them to let that and keep that team in that game, I mean, that was a pathetic performance. Now, again, this is the one thing, Xander, that we always have to roll back to. You won the ball game, you win and you advance. Let's see if you move on here. But if anybody had the notion prior to that game that Green Bay was a Super Bowl contending team, I mean, you weren't a Super Bowl contending team. The passing game is absolutely, once again, I'll say it again, it's pathetic. Stop making excuses for it. It's just not a good passing game.
No, and I'll double it up and say the passing game on the other side of the ball might have been even worse. Now, granted, he didn't have many players to throw it to out there when they were all injured, but Jordan Love did not look good today, Sills. Let's go through the tape a little bit. Started off the game, Sills. I mean, they came out firing. They came out swinging. Give them credit. They came into the game ready to go. Big hit on the opening kickoff by Oren Burks, jars the ball loose. The Eagles go right in, take a touchdown. 3 turnovers in the opening half. You had the opening kick turnover, the Darius Slay pick, by the way, unbelievable pick by him. I think he got hurt, never returned. And then the Zach Bond pick, which was just an awful play by Jordan Love. But you go into the halftime, so it was 10-3, wasn't it? Or 10-0 at halftime. I'm like, you have a 10-0 lead and you got 3 turnovers in the half? That's not a big enough lead. So I thought the Eagles left a lot to be desired, but that was it. That was the rundown. Packers missed the field goal, so it was 10-0 at halftime. Offense was awfully stagnant all the way through the game. I thought, Packers were depleted by injuries. That was a body bag game still. It was a very physical game, but I just thought the way you left so much on that field, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, I mean, you got a lot to clean up this week. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. You're 2 of 11 on third down. The Green Bay Packers outrushed you in total yards in the ball game. Without a doubt, they had 4 turnovers. And here's another significant part. So how was Green Bay in the game? And like you said, Zander, at the opening of the game, they get that turnover in the red zone, basically. And the Eagles were able to take advantage of that. They put that bad puppy in. You take that away from the game, it's a 1-possession game. The Green Bay Packers, how are you in the ball game with 8 penalties for 85 yards and 4 turnovers? How are you in the game? And like you said, Jordan Love, not only the fact that he played poorly, there was not the only guy that showed up to play was Josh Jacobs. He was a force in that football game. That run towards the end of the game that he had to get that ball close to the end zone and then get it in the end zone. He showed up to play, man. That guy is one workhorse, man. I was exceptionally impressed with him. And I got to hand it to Hafley. His defense kept them in this thing for pretty much 3.5 quarters. Again, they're limited. Green Bay is a limited football team. And I'm going to make the point to all of you. Green Bay is the 3rd best team in the NFC North. Just put that in your hat, and you just shake that around a little bit. That's the 3rd best team in the NFC North. Minnesota and Detroit are better football teams than them, and you are not beating them looking like that. You may not even beat the Bucs if you get them at Tampa.
I don't think you're wrong at all. By the way, I want to do one thing, and then we'll continue to dive into the game. Jason 18 brings it to my attention, and I want to just remind everybody of something. No Holes Defense, congrats to Q for his first pick. So we've been waiting for the Quinyon Mitchell first pick. He gets it in the playoffs, and because of that, I will be giving away a Quinyon Mitchell stitched Kelly Green jersey tomorrow on the show. So make sure you guys tune in on the morning show. I will give that away on the morning. I feel the need to celebrate something, a big playoff win, and Quinyon Mitchell gets his first pick. So big shout out to him, and Jason 18. Thank you for the super chat. Now, so I'll say this, because many people are going to be upset with us, right? You win a playoff game, not just a regular game. You win a playoff game today, and it might not be all peaches and cream on our show today. But I'm a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, and I watched that game. That team is not a Super Bowl team. Certainly not a Super Bowl team the way they played today. Maybe it looked good. Maybe the defense created 4 turnovers. Maybe it did some good things in the game. If you think that team is marching through the NFC and knocking off the Bucs, let alone the Lions, let alone the Bucs, you got another thing coming. That was not championship football today. Granted, they beat a good team. I thought the Packers were a solid team. They were dropping like flies, by the way, out there. It was a total body bag game. People were dropping everywhere out there. But look, that's just how I feel. Right now, that's not a championship team, Sills. It's not.
I know it's not. And on top of that, this is not just winning a playoff game. See, what people are going to do here is they're going to go, we won the game. That's not what we're fucking after in the postseason here. You're after a Super Bowl, and people were saying they wanted to make a statement in that game. Well, you did. You made the statement right now on January 12th. You're not a Super Bowl team. Like he said, ton of shit to clean up. I mean, if it's not for Saquon Barkley and that defense, that football team is going nowhere. By the way, your wide receiver was so bored that he started reading a fucking book on the sidelines because the passing game was completely inept. In my opinion, that was a metaphor for how bad the passing game was today. It wasn't about, you even heard Brady. He didn't want to go all in on it, but he goes, I don't know if the third quarter of a playoff game is a place you want to read War and Peace. So, I mean, that's how I looked at that. He was so not engaged in that game because of the lack of a passing game. I took that as a metaphor going, I'm not needed in this ball game for us to try to win a ball game and potentially a Super Bowl. That's how I took it, okay? I've never seen somebody so not engaged and also not focused on what they were doing that he was bored in the football game. Kind of crazy of a statement, and that'll be a main storyline moving forward. Believe me, here we go again. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts' relationship will once again be front and center on Monday.
Yep, no doubt about it. I mean, look, what did you make of that? I mean, you just kind of gave it to us, but I did want to ask you about it. I mean, many people think it's funny. People are like, oh, you know, I think it's a diva move. I get it. We receivers are going to be divas.
It was a diva move. But I think, again, it was a metaphor
what do you
for how
accomplish out of that, though? If you're A.J. Brown, what are you trying to accomplish in the middle of a playoff run by pulling out a book? By the way, he knew the cameras were on him. You could tell by the way he opened the thing. He knew he was getting the headline. He knew the picture was going to be floating all over social media, which it already is. Why send that message? What do you think A.J. Brown is going
Why
for?
create that fucking drama again? Why? Seriously, I see somebody in here who said it childish. That's a childish move, man. It's a non-professional move that you're doing that on the sidelines during a pro football playoff game, that guy was so not engaged. I can't – and you know what the Eagles will do? The Eagles, they'll come up with some lame-ass excuse. And for the record, how are you – I wonder if someone will ask Nick, hey, Nick, is that part of your process where you have people reading library books on the sidelines to War and Peace while your football team was still in a game and battling? At that time, the Packers were still in the ball game, okay? It was still in the ball game there. It was a one-possession ball game. Not A.J. Brown, man. Once again, I'll say it. That guy wants to win, in my opinion, and I completely agree. A.J. Brown wants to win the ball game his way. Again, there was so much. That was such a undisciplined, sloppy ball game by the Eagles all around, except for this. I'll give you that. And by the way, Jake Elliott on the missed extra point. Let's fucking go, guy. I mean, let's go. That is not – how about this? I don't know, Zander, if they're not a championship team. That was not a championship performance.
Yeah, I agree with that. You don't know yet because, look, they could turn it around and be a better team next week. I'm not saying that, but if you're going off of today's game and all the things we talked about coming into the game today, you know, Jake Elliott was one of them. And I made a tweet out early in the game. You had 3 questions coming into the game, right? The 3 big – there's always more questions, but the 3 big questions coming into the game. Jalen Hurts' rust, what was he going to look like 3 weeks off? Jake Elliott in the field goals, what was he going to look like on special teams? And number 3 was the slow starts. Well, they checked all those boxes. Early in the game, I'm like, Jalen looks good. He's 6 of 6 with a touchdown. Jake Elliott hit a field goal early in the game. And they started off with 10 points in the first quarter. After that, it felt like they couldn't do anything, Big Sills. Offense couldn't get going. If it wasn't for that defense, I don't know if you win that game. And then the other thing I'll point out, because you got to start to analyze, is this team going to beat the better teams? Is this team going to go to the Super Bowl? How many throws did Jordan Love miss in that game? I know I'm not saying the defense didn't have a great game. The defense played great. 4 takeaways. How many throws? Jordan Love missed 3 throws to the end zone I can think of off the top of my head that would have been Packer touchdowns that he just airmailed. He airmailed 1 throw he put the interception to Zach Bond. I've never seen that.
He did miss 2 O-linemen. One was the
star left tackle. No, you're right. I'm just saying you're not going to get that every week. You're not going to get that every week.
So you lost your top 3 wide receivers. Zander, you're looking at Jordan Love's game. He lost 2 offensive linemen and his top 3 wide receivers in the ball game. I'm not sure what you were expecting him to do when you lose half your offense. He lost half of his offense.
Yeah, I get it.
And 5 players in the starting 11 were taken out of that game with injuries. So, I mean –
yeah, but this is football. It's playoff football. If somebody went down on the Eagles, would I use that as an excuse, though? Come on, man. It's next man up.
That's a reality. He lost half of the –
I know. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Do you think the Eagles would have won a ball game if they lost 5 of the 11 guys today?
No, I don't.
With that quarterback's performance, do you think he would have connected on 5 of 11 the way he was throwing the way? Hey, taking sacks again too, man. Come on, kid. I mean, I just got to tell you, man. I'm gonna reserve it, Zander, and saying that's. I'll take it back. Whether or not they're a Super Bowl team or not, that performance in the first game of the playoffs, that is not a playoff. Excuse me, that is not a Super Bowl performance for them to be able to think they are a Super Bowl contender. You would have been beat by Minnesota. You may be beat by the Bucs or the Rams if you play like that.
I agree that today's win's not going to cut it. They got to get better. Let's talk about the quarterback skills. He was 13 of 21 today, 131, 2 touchdowns. We talked a little bit about A.J. Brown, 1 catch for 10 yards to an all-pro wide receiver. I don't quite understand the strategy there on not going to A.J. Brown more. Perhaps the knee injury. Yeah, I'm going to talk to John. We'll talk to John, who will join us in a little bit from the stadium, from Lincoln Financial Field. He'll give us the update on that. But just the quarterback performance, let's get into it, man. What'd you see from him? Anything good? I did think he used his legs effectively at times. He had 5 carries for 37 yards. Took some hits again in the game, but what'd you see from the QB out there today?
I thought he was very average. I thought he, again, I mean, I'm not sure what to say about how he performed out there in that ball game. I mean, like you said, I mean, Jalen Hurts was 13 of 21. He had 39 yards in the first half. Barkley ended up with 119 yards in the ball game, 36 carries. I mean, Zander, this is pretty much standard operating procedure. Remember what I told you? I said 140 yards passing and about 60 yards rushing. He didn't get to the 60-yard rushing number, but this is what this guy is. He's not going to be any better than this. That's what that guy is. Devontae Smith, 55 yards. You had Dallas Goedert, 47. And A.J. Brown, this might be his worst game of the year. Okay, 1 catch for 10 yards. Your star guy, the guy you can't defend the slant. By the way, where was the slant? It was non-existent in this ball game.
They didn't use it, not once.
The passing game going one time in this ball game, only when they were in the red zone here. I mean, it just, in my opinion, that was a D-plus performance by him. He wasn't very good in that game.
Yeah, I think even D+ is a little bit generous. I guess you could give him D+ because he didn't turn the ball over. He did have 2 touchdowns.
And 1.
You know, people are saying 2 touchdowns. I mean, look, it's great. It shows up on the stat sheet. It's 2 touchdowns. Let's look at the 2 touchdowns. The first touchdown, 7 seconds in the pocket, the longest touchdown pass of any quarterback in a clean pocket yet this entire football season. So that's unheard of and doesn't happen often. Jahan Dotson breaks free. You could see Jalen back there trying to get out of the pocket, but the edge, bit down, so he couldn't escape to the right. He forced him to stay in the pocket, which ended up being a good thing. And then the pass to Dallas Goedert, which let's tip our cap to what Dallas Goedert did. He absolutely bullied. Now that is demoralizing for an opponent. He completely took that guy's lunch money and didn't care about it. That was impressive by Dallas Goedert.
You even see Xavier McKinney.
Jalen Hurts was slicing and dicing. I mean, come on.
You even saw Xavier McKinney over on the sideline questioning the kid when he ended up allowing that run down the sideline from Dallas Goedert. So, I mean, hey, by the way, everyone can make all the excuses you want about your passing game. And I'll say it one more time. Many people thought after the Steeler game, your passing game was going to be fixed. It's not. It's not. This is what you are. This is what you are. And in a critical game where quarterbacks are going to make some plays, maybe you don't run. Zander, here's the thing. Maybe you don't run into that. Maybe you don't run into that in the NFC playoffs. I don't know. But I really don't know how the other teams are going to perform. And that just shows you once again the talent of the roster that you have on that football team. That we said it. Green Bay has nowhere on that football field where you look at where they had an advantage. Maybe the quarterback. Hey, by the way, again, I said an 11-point win. That's kind of right where they hung around. I thought it'd be a little more points scored by the offense because I thought the offense would put some more points on the board. They struggled all day long. Ton of 3-and-outs. Unbelievably awful performance by the offense.
No doubt about it. Let's go to that defense, Big Sills, on the defensive side of the ball. I thought they played.
You and me are talking about Super Bowl here. We're just
I know, and everybody wants us to just revel in the fact that we won a playoff game. If you guys want to revel in that fact, That's perfectly fine. You're entitled to do that.
You are.
I'm going to give you the truth. This is not a team, Big Sills, that's built from the ownership on down. Forget us. Forget what I say. Forget what Dan Sileo says. Jeffrey Lurie, the guy writing the checks, has Super Bowl expectations. If you believe that that performance and that team looked like a team capable of beating a Chiefs or the Bills or the Lions or even the Vikings, or shoot, we might be playing the Bucs next week, or the Bucs, I think you got another thing coming. That team has a lot to clean up in 1 week, Sills.
That Detroit Lions team will beat that performance today by 25 points.
You think you
by
said
25
what?
points. You have 3 and outs against that Lions team. Yeah. You'll get beat by 25 points.
I agree. That Detroit team is no joke, Big Sills. I mean, that team is – you're talking about a team that is going to put up more than 10 points and a quarterback that's not going to miss open receivers in the end zone. Jordan Love missed 2 open receivers in the end zone.
Stafford is going to miss open receivers like that, or Baker Mayfield, who, by the way –
I don't think Baker Mayfield,
Yeah, Baker Mayfield, who has a 2-1 record versus the Bucs in the last 2 years, who already beat you this year, and he's going to have all of his components. And you know the one thing that's different than that game that we saw earlier in the year? Yeah, you could say you're going to be healthier at the wide receiver position, but at the end of the day, your offensive passing game is not healthy. And you know what Baker Mayfield has? Baker Mayfield has a running game now, which now creates play action. Tell you what, I told you and I made a prediction that the Eagles would win 2 playoff games. Okay? I'm not so sure of that now.
Early return. Sileo tipping his hand a little bit. Let's go back to that defense. I want to stay on point here, Sills. I do think the defense had an impressive performance today. You created 4 turnovers in the playoff game. My favorite thing about the defense today, Sills, was they were physical. They were physical as hell. People were dropping like crazy in that game. You know, people are texting me, "Oh my God, these people are dropping." I'm like, good. It's playoff football. Put a body on somebody, and the defense did that today. And they really, I think they spooked the Packers offense, man. The Packers receivers, every time it felt like they got hit, they were down. I mean, every time. And I give the defense a lot of credit for that. Plus the 4 turnovers obviously held them to 10 points. I thought we're talking about championship performances. I did think that was a championship caliber performance from the defense.
Again, I'm going to go back to the personnel that was on the field too. You lose your left tackle early in the game. Then you lose your starting center. Then you lose your top 3 wide receivers. If you thought there was going to be consistency in that offense, and you can make the comment on next man up. And like everyone says, hey, this is playoff football. No question, man. Hey, whether or not that's not an Eagle problem that the Packers were getting banged up in that football game. It's not. But that's exactly what the game was. That's where you're going to get the inconsistency in the game. Did Jordan Love overthrow passes? Absolutely. Did he play well? Absolutely not. There was no way. But then tell me this. If the Packers played so shitty and were so bad, how was that a game heading into the fourth quarter? How in the world were you not winning? You should have won that game by 21 points.
Yeah, but that's where my problem with the offense is. Exactly what you just said. Even the halftime, Sills, you went into halftime, it was 10-0. You know, and all the people in here crying right now in the chat that we're not giving praise to the team, they were the same people on the halftime show commenting, we need a new quarterback. We need a new quarterback. To only be up 10 right now is egregious. I think the offense let them in that game. The defense did a great job, but you're asking how it was a fourth quarter game? Well, the offense couldn't execute. I mean, think about it. We had 10 first half points. What the touchdown came, we started at our opponent 28-yard line. We had to go 20 yards. Now, credit to them. They did it. They got into the end zone. That's not easy to do either. But outside of that, they really didn't have much offense working for them today.
I mean, hey, you can make all the excuses. No, I'm not saying you, Zander, but people can make all the excuses that you want in this game. You want to hear this, Zander, if you think about it. So he had 39 yards passing in the first half. What did he have for the second half? 70? I mean,
he had a 130 total, so I guess he had 90 yards in the second half.
Okay, so he had 90 yards in the second half with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert in your huddle. You really think you had a passing game when your quarterback can't keep you and have a rhythm? I mean, I'm just saying, man, I don't know. I mean, we can make all the excuses we want here. Everything you said, Zander, missed throws by Jordan Love, poor offensive play, 4 turnovers. I don't get it. I don't know how anybody feels good coming out of that because, again, if you want to do this and you want to dissect it this way, hey, Sills, a win's a win. Absolutely correct. Do I see the overall picture of you going into the playoffs here hot? You're not hot. Okay? You're not hot.
We came out hot. I felt good. I'm not going to lie. After the first quarter, Sills, I thought the opposite. After the first quarter, I was like, boy, this team is peaking at the right time. They look damn good. And then after that, they really couldn't get anything going on offense, and it was kind of a slow stall from there on both sides for both teams. Both offenses couldn't get anything going. But I thought the first quarter was impressive. I mean, the way they came out in the game, they were hitting, they were putting bodies on people, they were forcing turnovers, they were making plays. Jalen Hurts was started the game 6-6, touchdown on the board. I'm like, whoa, the Eagles showed up. The Eagles came ready to play today. After that, it wasn't so good.
How do you think Jalen Hurts played?
I don't think he played good at all. I don't think he played good. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it for the people that want me to sugarcoat it. I thought that was one of his worst games of the year. It was terrible. Terrible.
Xander, how many great games has he played in the playoffs, would you say? And I'm going to lean on you on this. He's played 5 now. One amazing game. One maybe a decent 2, right?
Well, let's look. Well, no, I think I'll give him more than 1 because if you go back to 22, 21, he got bounced, and 23, he got bounced, and he didn't have his best games in either of those 2 games. So rule those 2 out. 2022, you had 3 playoff games. You had the Giants, you had the Vikings, and you had the Super Bowl. Or no, not the Vikings. Excuse me, the 49ers and the Super Bowl. The Giants game
less than 140 in all of them.
But here's the thing with the Giants game. He did start out 10 for 10 in that game, and you were up 21-0 before the first half.
That's what I said.
So he didn't really – he went into conserve mode.
That's
and
what I said.
I'm not going to knock him.
A good game and a great game in 5
I'll give him 2. I'll give him 2 good playoff games.
2 good playoff games. The rest of them have been below average. I mean, again, this is – but Xander, let's go back to something, though, and kind of give them kudos here on one thing. Remember what we said about Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts doesn't have to win 4 in a row. He's got to win 1. And maybe if he gets into that Super Bowl game, he does what he did in that Super Bowl game against Kansas City, and he's able to cross the finish line. You know, Allen and Lamar and the rest of those guys, they've got to perform A+. There's another example, Xander, where a guy performs a D+ football game and they win. Josh Allen can't put a D+ game out there because Buffalo loses.
Maybe my problem, Sills, is that my expectations are too high. I hear these things, quarterback's getting paid $50 million, and I don't care. It's great he's getting paid that. But doesn't that come with the expectation of greatness or at least some degree of it?
Yes.
And I think as a fan base, we've continued to take the goalpost.
That's why I rip
move it here, move it here, move it here. I mean, for all the people who comment that you moved the goalpost, sheesh, can we look ourselves in the mirror as fans? It used to be, Jalen's going to be elite. Then we regressed it to that. Then we regressed it to Saquon Barkley. Now it's just, please, if you don't turn the ball over, I'm happy with your performance. That's actually where we are. So people are commenting to me on Twitter right now and on our chat. Jalen had no turnovers today. It was a fine game. Oh, great.
Congratulations for doing your fucking job. That's what a quarterback's job is, not to turn the ball over. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that team wins in spite of the quarterback?
I don't know if it's in spite of, but I don't think he's the number 1 or really even maybe the number 4 or 5 reason that they win games. I think he does a good job. I think he helps the running game be dominant with our offensive line. I think in moments he's good. I think his demeanor and his stoicism helps when you have a team that fluctuates highs and lows, and there's a lot of highs and lows in an NFL season. I think he does great things. I don't think he's the reason this team wins. I mean, what's the reason Buffalo wins? What's the reason the Ravens win? What's the reason the Chiefs win? What's the reason the Lions win? They have a great team, but they have a quarterback.
If the Packers win, Jordan Love is the reason that they win if they win. Every single quarterback in the postseason, that is the narrative of their team. This guy has the best roster around him. Tom Brady said it best. This formula has to be the formula that takes him to the Super Bowl and wins because your quarterback is not capable or he is not qualified to be in that huddle with all those star guys. You had a fucking superstar wide receiver today superstar wide receiver
Reading
checking out a book at a library because he was so freaking bored today, and he was reading Man of War, and he was reading Sun Tzu on how to get motivated. Do you understand what Brady said? Because it showed the book how to be motivated and stay motivated. I mean,
Sills, again, I was going to say it to you. Maybe I've set my expectations too high. Because remember what I told you on the shows this week when we were doing content together all week preparing for this game. I said, I don't think Jalen has to be exceptional. And I guess part of my mental psyche changed when the game comes on. You just expect your quarterback to be great, especially in these moments, especially when you hear from the fan base how awesome he is and you look at how many wins he gets and all those great things. I'm not saying it's not great, but maybe my own expectations are what I need to temper, because I expect more than, let's see what the final number was, 13 of 21 for 131 and 2 touchdowns. I expect more than just a game manager that doesn't need to turn the ball over. I expect greatness. I expect a guy that can elevate the offense. Forget that. I expect a guy that can utilize the weapons he has. He has A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. They combined today for 66 yards. Combined in a playoff effort. I don't think that's good utilization of your weapons.
I have some things out there that are kind of floating around here that I'm going to keep over here until we find out a little bit more information. But since 2022, Jalen Hurts has regressed as a quarterback in that huddle and on that football team. And now we also are starting to get some text messages that potentially, and I say potentially until we get maybe John telling us more, Nakobe Dean is lost for the playoffs.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
We are going to find out more. I hope not, but that could be an issue heading into a game against Tampa Bay and then down the line against the Rams, Minnesota, or Detroit, having one of those linebackers out. So that could be an issue on that side of the football because he's an integral part this year of that defense and what those guys have done. So, I mean, hey, it was funny. I was watching Saquon Barkley play. Boy, those 119 yards, there was a difference. Hey, what was the difference in the game? The 130 yards passing or the 119? The 119 kept Green Bay on the sidelines. If it wasn't for the running game, Green Bay would have been in a position to score with a shitty football team. They'd have nothing left. They lost 6 guys today. 6 guys rolled off the team on both sides of the football, and they hung in there for 3.5 quarters. Unbelievable.
No doubt about it. Let's get a couple super chats here. We're 30 minutes into the show. Big thanks to everybody for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you're not hearing what you want to hear, I'm sorry. I'm not going to lie to you. As an Eagle fan, I don't feel better about making a Super Bowl run after watching that game. Am I happy we won? Absolutely. Do we get to live to see another week? Absolutely we do. Is it important to win a big playoff game? Absolutely it is. Do I believe that's a team that can march to the Super Bowl and raise the trophy this February? Right now, not after that game, I don't. I think they're capable of getting there, but we have a lot to see before they do get there. And that's my take on the game. And like I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I love you guys too much to lie to you, Big Sills. They want me to lie to them, Sills. I can't do it, Sills.
How about this? Do you think that relationship between the quarterback and the wide receiver and the star wide receiver is a true thing now? I do. No wide receiver that has a relationship with the starting quarterback is going to undermine him and make him look bad like that. No, have you ever seen anything like that before in your life? Not even T.O. did shit like that. I've never seen anything like that. I think it made the quarterback, the offensive coordinator, and the head coach look stupid. You had a guy on the side. You know what I first thought it was? I thought it was like a playbook or something. That's what I first thought it was. I thought it was something that they had put together for. Then Tom Brady goes, no, it was a regular book he's reading. And I'm like, how could you not be engaged in what's going on in a 10-point ball game in the third quarter? How could you not be engaged? Again, I'm taking that as a metaphor. Okay? I am. I'm taking that as a metaphor. Hey, Anthony, I don't give a fuck what you think, bro. Your football team, you know what I started doing? Your quarterback is not very good.
So you know what I started doing when they showed AJ? I immediately knew, by the way. Immediately knew when they showed him with the book. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. We're going to be talking about this all week long. I started prancing around my studio here, singing AJ Owens, AJ Diva Brown is back. Diva Brown is back. That was obnoxious. I mean, come on. I know you want the ball, but it's a playoff game, man. Come on with that. Let's get to a couple super chats here. Oh, good guy to talk about here. Dover's Army says Nolan Smith now has more playoff sacks than TJ Watt. How you doing, Sills? He showed up today, man. 2 sacks, getting pressure. How about that? He knocked Elkton Jenkins, I think it was, out of the game early from just a brutal hit. He's playing physical. He's playing fast. He's getting around the edge. He now looks like he's officially turned the corner and is a legitimate NFL player. You get 2 sacks in a week 3 game, Sills. Okay. You get 2 sacks in a playoff game, you got my attention.
Okay, here's the 2 things to go forward with Nolan Smith. Just like it became an apparent thing today with Nakobe Dean. Size will be an issue. Okay? And size was an issue today on the injury to Dean, the war of attrition, and also how long will Nolan Smith be able to do. That being said, set the edge well, got pressure, hit the quarterback, also created pressure. Really had a good – that was, in my opinion, the best ball game I've seen Nolan Smith ever play.
I agree. And that happens in the playoffs. That's impressive stuff.
And in a game that you had to win, correct.
You're right. A-Team checks in. A-Team, I brought this up earlier, but I will read your whole super. Thank you, brother, for your support. Thanks, everybody, by the way, for all their support. Hit that like button. All right. We appreciate all you guys in JAKIB Nation here.
Jalen Hurts.
Jason A-Team says, no holds defense.
Worst quarterback in the playoffs. No, I'll take that back. Russell Wilson is.
Russell Wilson's out. Justin Herbert didn't look too good either, by the way. Sorry. Didn't.
Okay.
No holds defense.
At least Justin Herbert has to carry the team. Hurts doesn't.
Come on, don't justify that crap performance for me.
Oh, no,
4
you're
picks
right.
yesterday.
That's right. Jalen has A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and all that star talent.
Yeah, but why can't 2 things be true?
And he fucking looks like that.
Why can't 2 things be true?
If you put Justin Herbert in Philly, are you suggesting to me that he wouldn't win if he had a shitty performance too?
I don't know, because he throws four meatballs.
Okay.
He throws 4 meatballs and turns the ball over 4 times in a playoff game.
Ball off the Saquon Barkley like they're doing in LA, like they're doing in Philly. You're telling me you believe Justin Herbert wouldn't be an upgrade to Hurts? Dude,
I never said. Don't put words in my mouth.
Sam Darnold would be an upgrade to Hurts.
Big Sills, don't put words in my mouth, 1. But number 2, as much as I love you,
then because Herbert's better.
As much as I love you, I can't listen to this after watching that 4 interception meatball yesterday.
I'm not even near the same room you are because Justin Herbert has who do you consider a star?
What shows? Are we about to talk about Justin Herbert on the postgame? I don't give a shit about Justin Herbert.
Who do you consider a star player in Justin Herbert's huddle? Who?
I'm sorry, but I don't want to talk about Justin Herbert on the Eagles.
Sure, no problem. We move on.
I mean, let's read the super chat here. Congrats to Q. First pick, dude deserves it. Hurts scares me, but as a player, he was rusty. He will get better. Dean is a huge loss, and Nolan Smith is a baller.
There it is. I knew because I wrote down excuse number 3. Rust would be it. Nick said he didn't have any issues with it. He said it in his press conference Friday. I have no issues with it. Those guys have been performing all year long. They work together. They do all the same things. So what? Your head coach is full of shit? I happen to agree with you, Zander, what Brady said. I thought Rust would be an issue. Not Nick, not the organization. Nobody thought it would be an issue. Okay. Well, it played out. It was.
Well, don't you kind of think that Kellen Moore called the game like he thought Rust would be an issue? He didn't really put the ball in Jalen's hands too much. I mean, 21 attempts in the game. I mean, he wasn't going, like I said on the halftime show, I was dumbfounded that I thought what's the one foolproof way to get Jalen, in rhythm after missing through it? What's the one foolproof way? Get A.J. Brown on a slant. They didn't do it once, and I couldn't believe that they didn't do it. But, you're not wrong. Let's go to another super here. Lord Lubu says a win's a win. Good QBs win games. Doesn't matter how pretty it looks. You're not wrong, Lubu. We're not saying that. Ask Love and Herbert if they would trade spots with Hurts right now. Go Birds. Well, yeah, because they don't have a good roster, so they definitely would. But I hear you. Look, there's going to be a lot of that, Sills. That's what's going to be the response.
It's excuse city right now.
That's what it is. I agree. It's excuse
city. It's been an excuse. Here, 2903. It's been excuse city all year long. Well, the reason why Jalen doesn't really have to throw the ball is because, they're running the ball. Hey, man, you're going to need to pass. Do you agree now with this, at least, Sander? You're going to have to throw the football. You're going to have to throw the football to win a Super Bowl.
I agree 100%. You have the Detroit Lions, and I love this defense. Defense going to be great, but this Detroit Lions are averaging 34 points a game. I mean, they're making every defense in the NFL right now look pedestrian. So I think our defense will fare a little bit better against them, but that's a tight win. Like even Jordan Love today, he was not threading the tight windows. He had a couple nice throws, but overall it looked like he had a lot of air under his ball, not a lot of zip on the ball. I'm not sure if he's not fully healed up, but Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff, they're tight window throw quarterbacks. They zip that ball in there. So expect the defense to give up a little bit more yards than they did today. And that would be perfectly fine if you could count on your offense to string together some good drives and put some points on the board. But our offense right now is Saquon or bust.
That's the key with what you just said. Stringing together drives. Hey, you know what I miss? Zander, I miss the days when the Eagles were putting these 14-play drives together and just killing the clock. And what happened to those? What happened with those drives like that,
Look, this is a great super chat. MC says, Big Sills, I love your takes when it's justified. However, you are the ultimate troll.
Really? Well, then if I'm the ultimate troll, what did you see today, MC? What did you see out of your quarterback today in your passing game? If you think that's troll and that's a lie, how about this? Let me ask you this. If you really think what I said about your passing game today was trolling, then guess what? I can't have a conversation with you about it because you know why? You're watching something completely different and you're making excuses up for a guy that's not going to win a Super Bowl this year. Just not going to happen.
I don't disagree with you, Big Sills. Let's get to our first commercial break. Big thanks to all of our super chats in here. We will read all super chats before the show ends. If you're new to JAKIB, I never end a show. Ever will end a show without reading all of our super chats. So big thanks to everybody that supports the show, that's in the chat, comment, like, share, subscribe, do everything you can do to help us grow. We appreciate that very much. Let's get to our commercial break and hear from our great sponsors, Live Casino, Fritz and Bean Cooley, and some of the great people that keep JAKIB Sports on the air. We'll be back in 3 minutes, everybody.
Ignite your night.